My name is Travis Faske. I'm an extension plant pathologist and nematologist for the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. Today I want to talk with you about the importance of the southern root knot nematode and its impact on soybean yield in Arkansas. Most growers don't recognize that they have a nematode issue until they see plants dying in their field and they turn yellow, and they go out and actually pull up a plant and it may look something like this. And all of these are actually galls caused by the root knot nematode. The difference between these galls and nodules is they don't rub off and actually stay stuck to the plant. And so that is a difference in a way to identify this in the field. We're out in Kerr, Arkansas. This is a commercial production field where we screen soybean varieties for resistance to the southern root knot nematode. The southern root knot nematode is the most important plant parasitic nematode that affects soybean production in Arkansas. Each year, these tiny, non-segmented roundworms overwinter as either eggs or juveniles in the soil. And in the spring, when soybeans are planted, they begin to infect the root systems, reproduce, and rob those soybean plants of water and nutrients they need for yield production. They're commonly found in sandy, loamy sand and sandy loam soil, so the coarse textured soils. And they're found in almost every soybean producing county in Arkansas. Yield losses, like in this field trial here, can range from 50 to 75% comparing one plot to another. In some fields, yield losses can range from 25 to 50%, and in some areas, 10% yield loss. So significantly important. So one of the main ways that we combat this disease is to utilize host plant resistance. And so to do that, the only way that we can screen for it is actually in a field like the one behind me. My technician and I identified this field a few years ago, and it's relatively uniformly distributed with root knot nematode. And so when we plant these varieties in the spring, the infection is occurring, and we can actually come out at the end of the season and measure the amount of galling. The amount of galling tells us if they are susceptible or resistant. And so early on, the galls would be actually relatively small, and we couldn't compare one variety to another. If we wait too late in the season, the plants start to die, the roots start to drop off, and you can't see any galling either. So when we like to come out is about R5 timing. Oftentimes, galling will look something like this. All of these are actually galls from the southern root knot nematode. Inside those galls is a female that's developing, and again, she's robbing the nutrients, depositing eggs, and the cycle happens again and again throughout the season. So we'll come out, dig these plants, and I would rate something like this to be susceptible. Basically, I'm looking at the percentage of the root system galled, and it's easily over 75%. That is more susceptible than something like this. There's still small galls on here. There's still nodules on this plant too, but this one is more susceptible than this one. Ultimately, this is what a grower wants to plant. This one has little or no galling, and it is more resistant than this one. Now, resistance is relative, so when you compare something that's resistant, this one has resistance to the southern root knot nematode compared to this one. In comparing these in a field, this one is always going to yield greater than this one. Now, this one can be planted in a field, and there will be some small galling depending on if it's a very dry year or if there's a high population of southern root knot nematode at planting. So it's not immune, but it's the best we can do when we have a southern root knot nematode problem like the field behind me. Another way that we screen is actually in the greenhouse, and we look at the official variety testing entries. There's several hundred each year. They're planted in a greenhouse in Hope. They're inoculated uniformly, and so we can make some comparisons between those particular varieties. Again, choosing one that has less galling over something that has a severe amount of galling. So what can you expect? First, there's a few options in the Roundup and Extend herbicide technologies, very few in the Liberties and the Enlist. Looking at various maturity groups, there's more options in a maturity group 5 than there is in a maturity group 4. Each year, our reports go out on the Arkansas Row Crops blog. the University Extension website and the Arkansas Variety Testing website as well. And so there you can go through and look at all the different varieties and compare those that are susceptible to some that are resistant. If you don't know what type of nematodes you have in your field, and one important fact about the plant parasitic nematodes that we have in Arkansas is they're susceptible to causes galls, and that's the southern root knot nematode. None of the others cause any galls, so by going out and looking for this, and all you see is this, doesn't mean that there's not nematodes in that field. So taking a soil sample can help identify if you have lesion, reniform, stubby root, or sting, all of which can reproduce on soybeans in Arkansas. So to identify other plant parasitic nematodes you may have in the field, you'd have to take a soil sample. And the Arkansas Soybean Promotion Board has sponsored free soil samples that'll be assayed by the Nematode Diagnostic Lab in Hope. And so the end of the season, shortly after harvest, is a perfect time to collect those samples. So this information should be timely as we're getting close to harvest season here in Arkansas. The best thing to do is to divide that field up into about 20-acre segments and collect soil samples from the root zone about 8 to 10 inches deep. And then submit those to the Nematode Diagnostic Lab in Hope. We do recommend that that's done every 3 to 5 years so that you can monitor changes in nematode population over time. So I hope this was helpful for you today to share with you some of the importance of not only the southern root knot nematode, but maybe other plant parasitic nematodes that affect soybean here in Arkansas. Without the support from the Arkansas Soybean Promotion Board, we couldn't share this valuable information with you and give you information about which varieties you should and varieties you should not use in a field that has the southern root knot nematode. Thank you very much. Again, I hope this was helpful to you.